Alright guys, it's time for phase 2 of our instructional video here. This time around we're going to talk about electrical. Most of your trailers are going to be set up with two possibilities for electricity, either shore power where you're going to plug your trailer in, or you'll be running off your generator power. Either case, what we need to talk about is the electrical panel. That's on in the bathroom, so we'll take a look at this behind me. When you're running your generator in particular, it's a good rule of thumb just to follow this format, whether you're on shore power or your generator. The idea is when you're running your generator, when you start the generator, you don't want to have a giant draw of electricity all at once. So how do we avoid that? The way we're going to avoid that is to turn on our breakers one at a time. Starting with our appliances that are going to draw the most amount of electricity, and then going down to line to our least amount of electricity. Typically you're going to start out with your air conditioners. We're going to turn each one of those on the breaker panel. Then your appliances, refrigerators, freezers, sandwich preps. Then we can turn on things like outlets, radios, those sorts of things. So your panel will be labeled. I'll show you that behind me, and I'll show you how to both run the electrical side from either the generator or from the show power. When you open your panel here, the first thing you're going to see is that one side is labeled generator, the other side is labeled shore power. This applies to your main breakers here. Right now we're running off of shore power, so our shore power is switched to the on position. The on position is going to be when all these breakers are turned to the center of the panel here on both sides. Just for instance, this first breaker right now, it's in the off position. We'll flip it, that's going to go on to the on position. So if we're running on shore power, our main shore power breaker needs to be turned to the on position. And while that happens, our generator side needs to go to the off position. This is why we've got this bracket here tying these two breakers together. As we turn our shore power on, it's automatically going to turn our generator off. I personally like to flip these switches with two hands, just so you can make sure that they're both fully engaged and flipped over. So right now we're running on shore power. What we're going to want to do is take a look at your labels on here. Find your air conditioners is where you're going to want to start turning your power on. And the deal is to put each one of these breakers on and then give it about 5 seconds to actually start up. You probably just heard the AC went on behind me. From there we want to go to our appliances. We got our sandwich prep, we'll turn that on. We'll turn our freezer on. We got receptacles there. Little proofer, we can turn that on. Hood fan, those are on. Water pumps, and from here on we've got just minor appliances to turn on. And all we're doing here by giving this a few seconds is making it so all these motors don't start up at the exact same time. If you were to do that and we were running off of generator power, more than likely you might blow the main breaker on the generator, which would involve having to go out and reset that. If that happens to you and you do blow the main breaker, what you want to do is turn all these breakers back to the off position, restart your generator, and then go back to these breakers and turn them on in the sequence that we just did. Again, these main breakers, if you were going to run off of shore power, what we want to do is flip our main breakers to where the shore power side, the way we have it now, to where the shore power is switched on. If we're going to run off a generator, we've got to take the generator side and switch it to where the generator's on. If I did that now, all the lights will go off inside, so we won't bother doing that. That's really about the most important rule of thumb when it comes to your electrical panel, is just making sure that you turn everything on one at a time and give about a 5-minute increment in between turning on each appliance. Really, that's pretty much going to do it as far as the electrical panel goes.